civilian. Yes. Tomorrow. Yeah, the bishop told him no because it was taking too much time because he was taking on like there was a memorial for Hello, hello. Superintendent that passed away, really old. Well, we had to do all of that arrangement, all of the coordinations for that, and that's outside of his. Should be outside of his wheelhouse as a part-time chaplain. So the bishop kind of He was there like all day Wednesday.
So you're gonna whip this place into shape?
I'm getting a little worried. I mean, I've done all sorts of management before, but this is very different. This is not something I've done before. First civilian job ever.
13 months from now. Well, actually, we'll wait till you guys finish next month. Convention.
I just want to make sure real careful when I tell. Does the sales already know that, or is that they're gonna know that?
Meredith, does the sales already know that? Got the convention next year?
Yeah, they already went, just went over there yesterday, I think, because Rudy called them about it. And Mike showed me the route.
Kevin, Meredith, you ready? It's not 6 yet. Yeah, you're way early. Yeah, that's kind of confusing me, getting both of those. Now it's 6. It's 6 o'clock. We will call the meeting of the Roswell Planning and Zoning Commission of Tuesday, August 30th, 2022. Time is 6 o'clock p.m. A roll call, please.
Commissioner Gutierrez. Please turn your microphones on, okay? Thank you. Commissioner Henderson.
Here.
Commissioner McCornack.
Here.
Commissioner Lassard.
Here.
Commissioner Aguilar.
Here.
Commissioner McDaniel.
Present.
Chair Story.
Here.
We have a quorum. We have everyone here present.
And we have some audience members. We'll ask Commissioner Henderson to swear in stuff. We also have somebody online. Is that correct? Or? I think he said Gabriel Villegas. Yeah. Must be on one of the cases. Okay.
Anyone that's going to testify this evening, please stand and raise your right hand. Are you folks going to testify or speak? Okay, we need to swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, under penalty of perjury? Say, I do.
I do.
Please be seated.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Next, we have the approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. If anybody has any changes or additions or deletions, please state them now. If not, I would accept a motion.
Commissioners, I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Too slow on the left. Okay, we have a motion by Jana and a second by Steve to approve the August 30, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting agenda. All in favor, say aye. 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 All opposed, same sign. Agenda's passed. Next, we have on the approval of the minutes from the July 26th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. If everybody had a chance to look at it, anybody have any changes or notations for the minutes? If not, I'd accept a motion.
So moved. Second.
We got a motion by Saul and a second by Jesse to approve the minutes from the July 26, 2022 meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Being none, the minutes are approved. Next, we have on our public hearing items is case number 22-031, a request for approval of variances to minimum lot size requirements. Meredith?
Good evening, Commissioners, Chair
Like for
Story.
us to waive the reading of the finding of facts first or after?
You may.
Somebody would please make a motion to waive the reading of the findings of facts.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by what's your name? Second? We have a motion by Jesse and a second by James to waive the reading of the finding of facts and land use and zoning considerations for case 22031. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Meredith, your turn.
Good evening, Chair Story. Commissioners, thank you so much for you all being here this evening. We only have 2 cases. And when you speak, please speak into the mic. The first case is case 22-031 Variance. And this is for the property at Can you put the slides back? Yeah, thank you. 806 and 808 West 4th Street. And this is a request for variances to the minimum lot size and the setback requirements in the R1 zoning district in order to split one lot into 2 separate lots. So the minimum lot size in R1 for a single-family residence is 6,000 square feet. This lot is in R1. These lots are, these 2 residential structures are decades old, and they happen to be on a corner lot on 4th and Kansas.
Can you go back to that slide?
Sure.
But was that just a bearing? What is that some kind of easement in the third lot?
That's the alley. That's not, that's on the east side of the property where it says lot 14B, that's the alley. And the lot is 50 feet width. There will only be 2 lots. It'll be divided, it'll just be split into 2 lots.
This area over here.
Right. That's just the alley.
So the green,
In your packet, there's the whole plat is in your packet. So this lot is surrounded by residential zoning on the west side of Kansas. It's R2. Everything else is R1. So you can see the one lot, he just wants to split it into two separate lots, so each house has its own separate lot. And you can see how it's surrounded by residential. The historic pattern in this area, in the immediate area, is the subdivision of the corner lots into 2, 3, and 4 lots, even in the R1 district. So that's been the historic pattern in this neighborhood. This is a photo of the property showing the two existing residential structures. And this is a view of the property across the street. You can see that it's several structures in a row. It's a kind of a multi-family area on either 2 or 3 lots in there. So this just shows this slide shows the various articles in the zoning ordinance and the subdivision regs that regulate variances, and this would be a summary plat. It doesn't have to go to planning, or it doesn't have to go to city council. It's just a summary plat if you approve it. There were no protests, no inquiries on this zoning case. And based on the findings of fact, the land use and zoning considerations surrounding land uses, regulations established in the zoning ordinance and subdivision code, staff recommends Planning and Zoning Commission approve zoning case 22-3031 variance to allow lot 14 of block 2 of Wild East subdivision to be split into lot 14A with 5,475 square feet and lot 14B with 2,945 square feet and yard setbacks as noted on the Ridgeway summary replat in the R1 zoning district. Mr. Ridgeway is here.
Okay, thank you, Meredith. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this case? Mr. Ridgeway, would that be you? Please come on up, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's James Ridgeway, and I'm the owner at the properties at 808 and 806 West 4th Street. And first of all, I'd just like to thank you all for what you do in our city and, and for taking this into consideration for me. The reason that we're wanting to split the properties is not to enlarge or increase the population or anything. It's for an inheritance type deal, When we pass away, I have some grandchildren, and leave one of them one and leave one of them the other one. That's my major reason. And then the other one's to get my tenants to quit fighting over the water bill so I can get the water meters set and all that kind of stuff. I'm tired of the fight, just one of those things. But anyway, like I said, we're not doing any remodeling, no additions. Everything is going to stay just like it is. I've owned the property since 2008. I have a maximum of 4 people in one house and 2 in the other one. So our population isn't going to change. Both houses have their own utilities, with the exception of the water. And so I'd like to say I just appreciate your consideration in this matter.
Any questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this case? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition to case 22031? Anybody in opposition? Any questions, staff, commission, or applicant, or anything? Being none, I'd accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, based on land use and zoning considerations, finding of fact surrounding land uses and regulations established in the zoning ordinance and the subdivision code, I move that we approve case 22031 variance under the proposed Ridgeway summary replat.
Second.
We have a motion by Steve and a second by Jesse to approve case number 22-031. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Being none, it's approved. You bet. Next, we move on to case number 22-032, which is a request for approval of a zone change from C2 Community to R3 Residential. Could I have a motion, please, to waive the reading of the finding of facts?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Jana and a second by Jesse to waive the reading of the finding of facts and land use and zoning considerations for case 22032. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meredith?
Chair Story, Commissioners, this is zoning case 22-032, a zone change request from C2 Community Commercial to R3 Residential District. This location is at 1117 South Pennsylvania Avenue. So it's on the corner of Pennsylvania and McGaffey. This property is surrounded by C2 on the south, west, and east, and R3 on the north. So it will be contiguous to existing R3. Here's the assessor's map and the zoning map on this slide showing the property and the surrounding zoning. Again, these are the articles pertaining to this case. Zoning Ordinance Article 3, Section 9 provides procedures for zone changes. Zoning Ordinance Article 30, the C2 Community Commercial District. Zoning Ordinance Article 16, the R3 Residential District. In the Comprehensive Land Use Plan scenario map, preferred scenario map, indicates the properties along north and south sides of McGaffey Street from Maine west to Kentucky, as like a commercial corridor there. However, this is a staff photo of the actual residence. This is from the Pennsylvania side, and it shows that it's a house, and it's been used as a house. It's been rented as a house, and the property owner wants to be able to sell it as a residential property, but it's been difficult for the renter can't get a residential loan on the commercially zoned property. So that's the reason for the zone change. The property is listed in the assessor information as a residential improvement in the C2 zoning district. Across the street on McGaffey, the south side of McGaffey, you have two circa 1950 houses, and they're also listed as residential improvement in the C2 district in the Chavez County Assessor information. And likewise, on the east side of the property under consideration is a dwelling unit circa 1959, also listed as residential improvement in the C2 district in the Chavez County Assessor. Now, I took this photo from like the alley, just on the east side of the alley, and where I was standing, that starts commercial all the way to Main Street. So those are actually commercial properties on McGaffey. And as of today's date, I have heard from no one regarding protest or inquiries on the zoning case. Staff recommends approval of the zone change for the residents at 1117 South Pennsylvania from C2 to R3. And I stand for any questions. And Gabriel Villegas is online.
Okay, thank you, Meredith. Any questions of Meredith from up here on the commission?
No.
Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this case? Mr. Villegas, now's your chance.
Okay, thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you for considering this request for approval of a zone change on the South Penn property. My name is Gabriel Villegas. I am the son of Bobby Villegas. He passed last September, and I began my responsibility as trustee for his estate. In January, my brothers and sister and I decided to list this property for sale. He'd had it for many years and had rented it as a residential home. After we listed it with our realtor, we learned that prospective buyers could not obtain mortgages or loans on the property because it was zoned for commercial use. And so we're asking for that change so that we can sell the property to our current renter or someone else so they can qualify for a loan. And with this change, it will help us be able to sell the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission of the applicant? Being none, is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this case? Being none, is there anybody wishing to speak against this case? Audience is pretty full. I'm not sure we're going to get anything from out there. Okay, being none, any questions, anybody? Anybody got any comments, questions, or anything? Nope. I accept a motion for 22032, please.
Based on the land use and zoning considerations, finding of facts surrounding land uses and the regulations established in the zoning ordinance, I make a motion to approve zoning case 22-032, a zone change for C2 community commercial to R3 residential for 1117 South Pennsylvania Avenue.
Who was the second? Richard? We have a motion by Jana and a second by Richard to approve case number 22-032. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. The case is approved. Next on the agenda is other business. And I see we have a 5-minute limit on here.
That all depends on whether y'all did your homework. Now, I did assign, you guys remember, I'm a university professor, all right? I teach MBA classes and things, and I did assign homework last month. So you all should have a piece of paper in front of you, basically the table of contents of our zoning ordinance. Over the past 18 months that I've been here, we are finding ourselves in a situation where we're doing more and more variances. We're doing more and more zone changes. We're doing more and more things that are not standardized. That, of course, is an indication of how out of date our zoning and development code is. So I finally got our city council and in particular, our legal committee to emphatically state, go talk to your planning and zoning commission and put together a schedule of what you're going to do and the order you're going to do it in. So what I've given you tonight is just, like I said, just a table of contents for talking purposes. There are a couple of things that are urgent needs, and I would like them to be the first couple of priorities. Article 3, procedures, amendments, and changes. If you read our current zoning ordinance, it is silent on conditional use permits. We have special use permits in there. We've granted conditional use permits in a number of cases, especially with cannabis, but our cannabis ordinance, I specifically wrote in there conditional use permit requirements. Now I need to pull that out of the cannabis ordinance and move it into the full zoning and development code so we can apply those same standards to any other development that may come along. That is an urgent need because we have a number of projects over the years that have been approved with conditional use permits. The problem we're having is not that they weren't grantable, not that we didn't go through the process. The problem is, what do we do when they violate the conditional use permit? What do we do when they don't abide by the conditions? We have absolutely no mechanism whatsoever for revoking their permit in the event. And I've got at least 3 different businesses around town that are causing at least one and maybe three city council people a great deal of grief and aggravation because our ordinance is silent on conditional use permits. That's the first one. Okay. The second one, well, Article 4 definitions, that'll get updated as needed as we go through along. The second one is Article 12 and Article 12, 14, and 16. Following the success of the UFO Festival this year, we realized that we have pretty close to 90 bed and breakfast type operations, short-term rentals, operating in the city of Roswell. Our folks that issue the permits for those type of things and collect the taxes, more importantly, for the short-term rentals, would like for us to go and track down these people via however we track them down and get them all registered and make sure they're paying their taxes. Our R1, R2, and R3 zones are silent on short-term rentals. The only place we even show it is a bed and breakfast in the R3 zone, and that's allowed with a special use permit. Okay? But we also have one of the things that I'm going to be doing with Main Street Roswell is we're going to be talking about how to repurpose a number of the historic residences and things in our historic district. One of the best ways to maintain that wonderful structural look of a historic ordinance is to turn it into a quasi-commercial development, bed and breakfast. Mark Bleth and his wife just recently bought I believe it's called the White House. It is a White House, but it was owned by the White family years and years ago. And they're redoing it and restoring it as a bed and breakfast. He came to me and asked, what do I do to get a permit? I don't know. We're silent on it right now. Technically, he doesn't have to do anything. He can just start operating. But then the question becomes, because they live there and that's going to be their primary residence, is this a home occupation permit? Well, what about the people that don't live, that own homes but want to do short-term rentals but don't live there? Now, is that a commercial business license? Okay. We've got all these little moving parts, and then the actual short-term rental ordinance itself doesn't specifically address residential uses, single-family residential uses. So I'm working with Juanita Jennings. We're going to shore up the short-term rental ordinance, but I've got to back it up with an amendment to the zoning and development code. So those are the two immediate urgent needs. Beyond that, it becomes a discussion of what you all feel the priority should be. Okay? Just as a heads up, the Article 50 and Article 52, is it 52 where we talk about parking? 52 is where we talk about parking. Our parking section of Article 52 is confusing at best, especially in the R3 zone. In the R3 zone, they talk about no parking minimums. Okay? I believe what they meant to say was no arbitrary parking minimums, not no requirement for parking at all. I'm actually giving a presentation tomorrow night for an organization called Strong Towns, where I'm talking about how to create a more rational parking ordinance. I'll give you a quick example. One of our shopping centers out here, just pick any one of them. You have two restaurants sitting side by side, both of them 5,000 square feet. Both of them required to have about 100 parking spaces each. But one only serves dinner. They're open from 3 p.m. until midnight, serving steaks and chops and everything else. This one over here serves only breakfast and lunch. They're only open until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Why do each of them have to have 100 parking spaces? Why can't a shared parking agreement? Okay. Because parking is useless. Unused parking is useless to the city. Okay. You create economic density, you create economic growth, you create GRT, you create increased property values by being under roof, not having unused parking. We got a similar situation that I noticed around town, and I jokingly call it the McDaniel rule, because everyone in this town, according to the McDaniel rule, must drive at least an F-150 with a minimum 4-inch lift kit. That is a rule. But go to Home Depot first thing in the morning every day, and look at who's using that parking lot and our little 8.5 by 8 foot wide parking spaces, and not a single vehicle there is taking up only a single parking space. Okay? You go later in the day, yeah, when people are just doing the normal shopping, that's fine. But why don't we increase, if you've got a situation where our folks that are driving trucks, I mean, I can barely fit my Durango, and it's not in some of these parking spaces around town. And you back up and you back into people and everything else. So what if we had people restripe their parking lots with wider spaces, 9 and deeper, 9 by 20s, with 26 foot wide drive aisles? You would increase utilization, you would reduce the number of fender benders, and you'd get people in and out of the parking lots quicker and easier. Okay? So what we start looking at is the possibility of doing a parking analysis for new development coming in, not just an arbitrary parking ordinance where it says thou shalt have 1 parking space for every 200 square feet of office, or 1 parking space for every 250 square feet of retail. Okay? These days, with the utilization of drop shipping and everything else, fewer and fewer people are actually coming to the store. Fewer and fewer people, and stores are actually getting smaller because they realize that commercial storefront space is an expensive place to store your stuff. Okay? When you got 50% of the average retail store, that's storage. Okay? It doesn't make any sense. So by adjusting our parking ordinance, especially in the downtown area, and then working with Main Street Roswell to identify common parking areas, possibility of getting a couple of grants to build multi-story parking structures in the downtown area to add that supplemental parking. We can get more people downtown quicker, easier, get them out of their cars, get them walking on the streets, getting them into the shops. So that's something I do want to get on in the relatively near future. It's been a priority and a passion of mine ever since I worked on Lancaster Boulevard in Lancaster, California, and I watched them go from a blighted downtown area prior to 2008, where everybody had sprawled and gone completely out, and they pulled everything back in, and now, by utilizing some of these techniques, it is the highest economic density in the city, higher than any big box store, higher than any shopping center, higher than any retail center out there, because they got smart about the way they did their parking, and they started utilizing the buildings as often as they possibly could, drawing people back downtown, and now it's thriving again. And I would like to repeat that success here in Roswell, given half the opportunity. Okay. Beyond that, there's a couple of other little things. Sign ordinance needs to be looked at. The sign ordinance has some major gaps in it right now in terms of what people can do and cannot do. It needs to be clarified. The home occupation ordinance, in a post-COVID world, more and more people are working from home. More and more people are starting their own stores, starting their own shops, their own consulting firms, real estate agencies, all that good stuff. People are doing that from home now. We need to update our home occupation ordinance. And then last but not least, Article 70, design guidelines for Old Municipal Airport. I don't know how long ago those were put together, but those design guidelines have some bits and pieces in them that are quite good. But as a whole document, it is quite aged and showing it. So the stuff that I have in yellow, those are the things that I would like to focus on. But I would like your input on where do you think our time is best spent? Because this is probably a 2-year process by the time once we get it started and we start going through. I will not feed you everything at once. We will take chapters, we'll work the chapters, and then we'll put them aside and we'll amend the other chapters and keep on going. But right now, I'm looking at what do you want me to do for the next 6 months?
Well, you guys know where the priorities need to be, so I think, as far as I'm concerned, you bring up the priorities and what's the most important, and we'll work on those first and work our way down, eventually getting to the 64, the sexually oriented business.
I would probably have to get blessed by Counselor Perry to touch that.
Yeah, that's weird. I have to go look that one up. So I think, unless anybody else has any differences or I think we just
I agree.
go with you.
You guys know what you're needing, just bring it to us in pieces like you said. And also on the conditional use permits, you said there's a couple places that are having issues or people are having issues with them. When you bring it to us, please bring examples so we can kind of see it in real time.
Will do.
Kind of help make decisions from there. And as far as the Airbnb stuff here, so there's basically, there is no, it's bread and breakfast, but we Airbnb is the more common thing nowadays, in my opinion anyways. There's no language in our stuff at all about
At all.
short-term rentals.
Nope. You have to get all the way to the R3 zone, and then they talk about bed and breakfasts, but only in the most brief of terms. And then when you combine that with the lodger's tax ordinance, you just got a convoluted mess. So like I said, I'm working with Juanita. We're going to update the lodger's tax ordinance. We're going to update the zoning code so everything matches, and it'll work. So by early next year, we'll have this thing fixed and ready for the next UFO festival.
So as far as like us making changes to zoning or special uses or conditional uses to do an Airbnb, is it going to be something you're going to have to come before the commission to do?
What I would like to do is propose that the answer to that is no. A typical Airbnb, this is what I would like to propose to you, and you'll have to give me the feedback.
Yeah.
But a typical short-term rental, I mean, there's really no difference between a short-term rental and a long-term rental, except for the rental length. You have,
And the insurance.
yeah, and you've got and there's a few of the, and there's the taxes you get to pay, the privilege of paying for that. But because they are designed to be, long weekends or a week at a time and things like that, most of the rules regarding those will be in the lodger's tax ordinance itself. So what I would like to do is just add a line there that says short-term rentals, including bed and breakfast or Airbnb type facilities, pursuant to that section of the lodger's ordinance. They're approved as a use in the code. That maintains a little bit of the integrity of your ability to use the property as a private property owner in the highest and best use, the manner you see fit. It goes along well with our home occupation ordinance, I believe. I mean, knowing the cost of housing, knowing that it's going up, I believe everyone should have the right to turn their home into a place of business if they want to, and be able to make money. That's only good for the neighborhood, in spite of what sometimes you hear. If you've got the ability to make money in your home, you're going to upgrade your home. You're going to redo your office. You're going to take care of the lawn better. You're going to take that money that you've made in your home-based business, and you're going to put it right back into the home, which will upgrade the neighborhood, which will make everybody feel better. It's a chance for people to reinvest in themselves and their neighborhood.
I just want to make sure we don't make it more complicated on people that are trying to invest money. So what I was getting at is that they shouldn't have to come before us to try to make some kind of change. But we also, like you said, you're just trying to get a way to track. And one of the best ways to do is just to check the Airbnb sites or the HomeAway. You can get online and you can search and you'll pop all the addresses up that are advertising.
Right.
Unless they're just doing it for friends and family.
Actually, I believe if you talk to Juanita Jennings and her team, there is an app now that will search all of them B&B type listings based upon a zip code or based upon an area or a radius around something, and any listings that are out there on any of the sites, it'll come right back. So the only ones we'll be missing is people that handle it on their own.
Yeah, that's pretty much impossible.
There'll be few and
catch.
far between of those.
Yeah. Like I said, just the amount of money stuff costs nowadays and so on and so forth, we don't want to make it as simple as possible. And that's something that I get a lot of phone calls for short-term rentals here in town, and all my stuff is long-term.
Right.
And we have the house in Lubbock that's short-term, and that was a bit of a learning curve, but we've got a handle on it now. But I've been considering doing some here because there's been people requesting it. So.
Well, we want to make it as easy as possible. In fact, I've gone back, and it's not just the short-term rentals, but it's business in general. We are working on at least having a step-by-step process for people that want to go in business for themselves. Our business registration office. You come in, what type of business do you want to start? Okay, here's where you need to go to get your LLC. Here's where you need to go to get your federal tax ID number. Here's where you need to go, and have it all there so that people can do it all online, so that people can walk through the process. Because that seems to be, and I have to admit, when I did it for my little side business as well, and Tamara did it for hers, it got less confusing the second time. But even for somebody like me, it took a while, and I knew where to go and what to do. It took a while.
Yeah, anything we can simplify for stuff like that or growing business is going to be a good thing.
But being able to walk people through the process of getting things all set up and then walk them back through the process. Okay, once you've done this, now we register your home as a short-term rental. Here's your, and make sure you pay your lodger's tax, what percentage you have to pay, the whole 9 yards. So
Is there going to be some kind of online system to pay the lodger's tax, or how are you guys talking about doing that?
yeah, that is something I will have to. I may have to have Juanita or somebody on her team come in and give you a lesson on that. But from what I understand, it's all done online these days.
Yeah.
So.
The only thing I would ask, Kevin, is if you kind of keep an eye on the agenda, and if you've got something that's going to come up that needs some discussion, and we have 10 cases, if it's possible, move that to the next month or something. I'm just after we sit here for a while, I don't know about these guys, but I tend to lose a little bit of my focus after a while there.
My goal will be to get the draft ordinance out to you, not 3 days in advance, but 2 or 3 weeks in advance of when it's ready to go. I actually have the draft CUP ordinance nearly ready to go already. I've been working on it for Councilor Perry and a couple of other things. That one's going to come together real quick. The other one for the B&Bs, that will probably be ready. May not be ready for next month's meeting, but it'll certainly be ready for the one after that. So we'll go ahead and plug them in. I mean, nothing is, let's face it, the ordinance is set like this for quite some time and we're doing okay. It would be just nice to, and we have a lot of debates in our office about what certain things mean and how they're going to be applied. And we'd like to clarify some of that so that, especially people coming in from the outside, they can download a copy of our ordinance, they can look at it, it's clear, it's well understood, and that people will, when they come to us, they bring us clean, ready to go sets of plans, because right now we are just spending way too much time helping people through the process, because the process is just, it's not clear. It's just not clear.
Does the city, if you have a city business license, do they notify you when it's going to expire, or is that up to the person that has the license?
It's up to the person who has the license.
Yeah, you said there was a time limit. I'm already beyond that, and that question will take at least 5 minutes. That is a very long and very difficult story having to do with multiple different computer platforms that do not talk to each other.
A simple yes or no would have been okay.
They don't talk to,
because
no.
I have one, and I've got to thinking, when did I get it?
Unfortunately, I wish it.
Got my new one in the mail today, and I put it on the wall today. But I'm
Yes.
pretty sure I'm the one that noticed it. And
I had
said, that's not right, Louis. I don't think I got something I think I got something in the mail for my business license for the real estate company. I could be wrong. I'll have to go back and look. But I would have not noticed to do that.
We used to get them in the mail. You're correct, but the last couple of years, on my business license, I have to remember.
I think I got something in the mail this last time.
I got something.
I think I did this last time.
Things are
Not the last
slowly-
2 years, but this year I did.
Things are slowly but surely getting straightened out, but I did have a very well-known local restaurateur in my office today whose bill was due in March of this year, and she came in, and it's like, and I just waived the late fee.
Yeah.
So it's
The same thing, we barely got ours, and a server pointed out that it was expired, I don't know how many months. I'm like, whoops, I barely got the bill.
yeah.
Hey, Kevin, along the lines of simplifying things, I'm all about making it as simple as possible for people. What has happened to, I thought we were consolidating all of these departments in another building that was being remodeled, and so can you tell us what's going on with that?
I need Todd. Todd Versiglio has been running point on that. That building has had all kinds of problems, everything from
City's flagged
asbestos-
problems because of the city.
asbestos remediation to lead-based paint to fire suppression systems that didn't work to wiring that needed to be replaced. Now, the good news is that's all the responsibility of the building owner. So even though it's been over a year since we signed the lease, we're still waiting. However, the good news is the wiring is all done, all the remediation is done. I understand that the last of the parts for the fire suppression system are in, and so we ought to be able to move in. The plan is still to move in. I am crossing my fingers before the end of the year. So.
Current.
All right, thank you. Anything else you need from us on that?
Nope.
Okay, bring it to us, we'll help you whatever we can. Anybody have any public comments? No public comments, any announcements? Okay, and I think that's it, unless there's it is 6:43, and we are adjourned.